morning, everyone. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. Let's start today with something that every Bitcoiner feels, but almost nobody says out loud. Bitcoin hits you on a level that goes way beyond charts, volatility, or macro. It feels like it reaches into something deeper. You feel it in your chest, not your portfolio, and after a long time, you probably thought that was just excitement or conviction or monetary rebellion, but here is the real truth. Bitcoin resonates with you because it aligns with the deepest part of your consciousness. I am talking about the thing behind all of your thoughts, behind your career, behind your personality, behind every identity that you have ever worn. The part of you that has never changed, the part of you that looked out of your eyes at age 6 and is still looking out of your eyes today, unchanged, untouched, and impossible to define. Most people go through their life without ever noticing that part of themselves. They stay distracted by the noise, by the ego, by the systems around them that constantly shift and decay. But Bitcoiners, whether they realize it or not, are responding to something that mirrors their own inner structure. Bitcoin is the first system in your life that behaves like a witness behind your experience. It does not lie to you, and it does not change. It does not depend on someone else's perception or permission. It cannot be diluted or corrupted. It is the only thing in the external world that feels as stable as the internal I that has been with you forever. That is why this asset feels almost spiritual to people. That is why Bitcoiners feel something real when everyone else acts like we are crazy. You felt this truth long before you could articulate it, and today I am going to break that down very clearly. When we are done, you will finally understand why Bitcoin feels like meaning itself. But before I do, I really want to give you a thank you to Horizon for sponsoring this video. Horizon helps you take your trapped home equity and they help you buy Bitcoin with that home equity. And they do it with no monthly payments, term limits, or forced liquidation. The Bitcoin is fully yours to hold however you want to. It's super easy. They'll help you out every single step of the way. Link is in the description below, and I'll talk more about them at the end of the video. Before we can understand why Bitcoin resonates so deeply, we have to identify the part of you that responds to it. Not the personality that you show the world, not the thoughts that are running through your mind, and not the story that you tell yourself about who you are. I am talking about something that precedes all of those things. I am talking about the raw experience of being you. If you pause and look directly at your own awareness, you will notice something that is almost unsettling in its simplicity. There is a constant presence behind your entire life, and it's not your name, and it's not your memories, and it's not your beliefs or your opinions. It is the simple fact that you are aware. This presence has been the same from the very beginning. Every aspect of your life has shifted, evolved, collapsed, rebuilt, or transformed, yet the one perceiving all of that has stayed untouched. That continuity is not just an idea, it is an undeniable experience that we all have. And most people never examine this because they get lost in their own identities that come and go. They assume the witness is just another mental construct. But if you look carefully, you realize the witness is the one thing that you cannot dismiss over the course of your life. You can question every belief, every memory, every preference, but you cannot question the awareness that is doing the questioning. And this is the baseline of human experience, the core I. It is the silent continuity behind everything else. What matters for us is that this witness has a very specific nature. It does not depend on external conditions. It does not fluctuate with markets or opinions. It doesn't get destroyed when you decide to reinvent yourself during some midlife crisis. It is stable, it is self-contained, and it is impossible to manipulate. And once you understand what that inner witness is, you start to see why certain things in the outside world feel aligned with it and why others feel wrong. And Bitcoin fits this witness and Fiat does not. So before we get there though, we need to understand exactly how this structure of consciousness relates to the structure of truthful systems, and that is where this journey gets quite interesting. So now that we have identified this timeless witness, we need to understand why it matters. This is the part that most people will overlook because the witness is not just some background feature of your mind, it is the foundation for how you judge truth, stability, and meaning. Why, you might ask? Well, it's because you instinctively measure everything in your life against the qualities of this inner presence, and not consciously, but psychologically. You always look for things that feel reliable, grounded, and honest, and you recoil from things that feel unstable, manipulative, or artificial, and that instinct comes directly from the nature of the witness. The witness has no agenda. It doesn't fabricate any stories. It does not distort reality to protect you. All it does is that it simply observes. It is the one part of your human experience that doesn't spin narratives or chase illusions. It is the closest thing to objective perception that you will ever have. And because of this, the I that is the foundation of your experience that we call the witness, it becomes your internal reference point for all of authenticity. Anything that aligns with its nature feels true to you, and anything that contradicts it, it just feels naturally wrong, even if you cannot articulate why. When you sense corruption in a system, that reaction is not political, and it's not economic, and it's not intellectual. It is something that is totally existential. You are reacting to something that clashes with the structure of your own consciousness. And remember, this witness is constant. You had this sense of I when you were 4 years old, and it is the only thing that has remained unchanged throughout your entire human experience. The witness is constant, and systems that are built on distortion, they feel hostile to that constancy. The witness is sovereign over that distortion. Systems that are built on permission, they feel suffocating, and the witness does not change its essence to fit external demand. And systems built on manipulation, that is why they feel so toxic. And that is why we're not drawn to Bitcoin for a price or any ideology. We are drawn to Bitcoin because it shares the same traits as the witness itself. A stable system recognizes another stable system. And this is exactly why people who have never met each other can arrive at the same conviction about Bitcoin, because the conviction is not a social construct. It rises from an internal architecture embedded in you that all humans share. And this is where everything starts to come together, because you now understand the nature of the I behind your experience that we call the witness, that is constant, aware, and untouched by the fluctuations of your life. Now, if you compare that with Bitcoin, and when you place them side by side, the alignment just becomes totally unmistakable. Bitcoin is the only monetary system that behaves like something rooted in truth rather than authority, because its rules do not bend based on any external pressure. Its supply doesn't change based on political incentives. Its security does not depend on personal loyalty or institutional goodwill. It holds its form whether people praise it or attack it. You have to think of all these systems that exist in our lives that exist by just demanding trust from people, but Bitcoin exists by not demanding or needing any trust at all. And this is why the Bitcoin ethos feels familiar to you on a primal, visceral, spiritual level, because it speaks the same psychological language as the witness inside of you. Both of them share a refusal to participate in deception. Both hold their ground regardless of any external noise, and both operate from a foundation of truth that does not depend on approval from anybody. People call Bitcoin hard money, but what you feel is not hardness. What you're really feeling is consistency. You finally found something in the outside world that matches the structure of the awareness that watches your life unfold. And this is why we always feel grounded in Bitcoin bear markets, because Bitcoin itself isn't the chaotic thing. We know that markets are chaotic. Human sentiment is chaotic. The institutions are chaotic. Bitcoin itself stays exactly what it is. And that permanence is what your inner witness recognizes. And this is why when you're orange-pilled enough, you don't require external validation anymore. This is why the conviction grows instead of fades. This is why arguments against Bitcoin often feel hollow at a level that is even deeper than logic itself. You're not defending a belief. You are recognizing a reflection reflection as the most stable part of yourself. Bitcoin isn't trying to be anything. It simply is what it is. And when you encounter something that mirrors the exact qualities of your underlying consciousness, you feel alignments that cannot be faked. So next, I am going to examine why fiat systems feel psychologically suffocating and why Bitcoin feels like clarity. And the difference is not economic. It is existential. To understand the contrast, you need to look at the qualities of fiat systems and compare them to the qualities of your own inner life. Fiat changes constantly. It inflates, it erodes, it depends entirely on external authority, it is shaped by political agendas, institutional incentives, and short-term decisions. It has no stable identity. It shifts based on pressure and fear from other people and other parties. These are qualities that match your ego and not your core awareness that is the foundation. Remember, your ego, that depends on approval. It reacts to every single fluctuation that you observe. The ego tries to control outcomes. The ego panics when circumstances change in your life. And ego is built on the stories, the status, and survival. But your inner witness, it literally does none of that. It does not cling to any narratives. It doesn't chase validation. It does not depend on any central authority. It simply observes and it remains itself. And this is why fiat systems feel psychologically exhausting to us all, because they activate the same part of you that is always trying to hold everything together. They force you into a reactive mindset. They make you feel unstable because they reflect instability back at you. And Bitcoin does the opposite, because Bitcoin matches the part of you that is not in a constant fight, the part of you that simply exists and does not change its nature for anyone. It gives you a form of stability the ego can never create. The reality is that you do not become a Bitcoiner from any ideology. You become a Bitcoiner because for the first time, you find a monetary structure that does not require the ego's constant tension. Bitcoin speaks to the part of you that wants things to be honest, not convenient, not manipulated, but honest and grounded in truth. And it's almost a misnomer to say that Bitcoiners are obsessed with sound money, because in reality, what we're really obsessed with is alignment, ontological alignment, the alignment between the unchanging core of consciousness and an unchanging system in the external world. So when you experience that alignment, you definitely never forget it. When people say Bitcoin feels like waking up, they are describing a psychological shift that happens when something outside of you finally matches what you have always sensed inside. Most people spend their entire lives surrounded by systems that contradict their inner experience. Systems that lie, systems that change without warning, systems that punish honesty, reward distortion, and demand trust while giving nothing solid in return. And living inside of these systems creates this subtle pressure that you barely notice until it's gone. I think of the boiling frog analogy. The water continues to heat up, it continues to boil, and you never really fully notice it because you have not been exposed to the thing that reflects the inner eye. When you're embroiled in this system, you are constantly adapting, you are constantly adjusting, you're constantly preparing for things to break, and that tension becomes normal. And then one day when Bitcoin enters the picture into your life, something unusual happens. You have encountered a system that doesn't distort itself to fit any circumstances. It does not hide its rules to you. It doesn't demand your obedience in the slightest, and it doesn't adapt to the desires of the powerful. It simply presents reality as it is and lets you decide on how to engage with that reality. And that moment always feels like someone opened a window in a suffocating room. You feel clarity, you feel oxygen, you feel an intellectual relief that something in the world finally operates without any deception. This clarity doesn't come from money. It comes from alignment with truth. Your witness is built to recognize truth instantly. When it finds something structured around honesty, the tension drops, the confusion dissolves, and things feel very obvious. And this is why Bitcoiners describe a before and an after. That is why we have the term orange pilled. And the beautiful thing is that this feeling doesn't become rare. It becomes universal once you notice it. It explains why Bitcoin produces conviction that just confuses everybody else, because the conviction is not emotional hype. It is the recognition of coherence between internal reality and external reality. And now we reach the core truth, the reason why true Bitcoiners do not sell, and it has almost nothing to do with bravado or diamond hand culture because it's not about stubbornness, tribalism, or financial fantasies. It comes from something far deeper from within you. Once you recognize that unchanging witness inside of yourself, inside of your consciousness, and once you see how Bitcoin aligns with that witness, the relationship changes. You're not holding a trade, you are holding the first external system that feels consistent with the way that your consciousness actually works. You're holding something that does not deceive you, something that does not pretend to be stable while changing behind your back, something that does not require you to distort your own integrity just to participate, something that doesn't bend based on who is in power or what narrative is currently popular. And once you experience that, you can never return to systems built on distortion, and it's not even a matter of preference, it is a matter of identity. Something within you recognizes that selling out of truth feels like stepping back into a world you already saw through. This is why Bitcoiners stay calm while others panic, because you are not defending an asset. You are defending the alignment between your inner reality and the world that you choose to participate in. When I say I'm never selling my Bitcoin, what I'm really saying is I found something that does not collapse when everything else does. I am saying I will not trade coherence for illusion. I am saying I finally have a system that respects the part of me that has always known the difference between the truth and the noise. People say that Bitcoin stores value, but what it really stores is honesty. It stores stability in the world that constantly shifts. It stores the qualities of the witness that has been with you since the beginning. And when you finally find something that matches who you are at the deepest level, letting go of it does not make sense. Not emotionally, not intellectually, and not existentially. And that is the real reason why Bitcoiners never sell. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you like this content, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. I am spreading the orange gospel to the masses, and I need your help. Leave a comment to help the algorithm. Let me know what content you want to see next. Have a terrific day and do not party too hard. Class dismissed. Once again, a special thanks to Horizon for sponsoring this video. Most people don't realize this, but on average, 60% of American homeowners' net worth is locked up in their primary residence. And with home prices more inflated than ever, Americans now sit on a combined $35 trillion in home equity. Now there's a way to unlock that trapped capital and put it to work in Bitcoin. Horizon helps homeowners unlock a portion of their home equity to buy Bitcoin. It is not a loan, so there are no new monthly payments. You keep living in your home as usual, and then later when you sell, refinance, or choose to settle early, Horizon's provider takes an agreed share of your home's future value. That is the trade. Unlock cash now to stack Bitcoin by selling a slice of your home's future value while you continue living in it. What makes Horizon stand out is that there are no term limits and you keep 100% of the Bitcoin upside. The Bitcoin is fully yours to custody however you want, wherever you want, with no risk of forced liquidation. If you've been sitting on a pile of home equity and are eager to invest in Bitcoin, this may be the product for you. Visit joinhorizon.com to see if you qualify and get started. Their team of experts will work with you one-on-one from start to finish. Transform your dormant home equity into Bitcoin today with Horizon.